a little homemade generator shed. Got this and a Duramax 13,000 dual fuel generator. I think I got this whole setup probably less than, I'm gonna say less than $2,500 just to be safe, but it's probably less than $2,000 versus a standby generator, which was gonna cost several, I want to say $14,000, and this one runs almost, I'd say 95% of the stuff in my house. The only thing I've had an issue with is not the air conditioning, but the heat. And one of the reasons the air conditioning is not an issue is because of this little device right here. That right there is basically a soft start. You can look up a lot of videos on the soft start. You know, basically lowers the amp draw when your air conditioner's kicking in, so it doesn't bog down the generator and shut it off. But just a little quick deal of what I got here. Got a little hinged roof, so that pops up. Gas struts on the sides, and of course a little door here. You can leave the roof down and open just the door like I did just a second ago. You can fill it up with gas. I am gonna run I've been running it just with gas, which I don't like, but I am gonna run a gas line to this. Get a propane tank out here and run a gas line. But what I did here, so that goes in, if you notice right there is my electrical box. So, and you notice there's no plug-in on this wall at all. So where do you plug this in? I got it in here, out of the way. So it's plugged in right there. Got my cord that wraps around, goes into here. And from there, basically, that way you ain't gotta drag the cord out, run a cord out from this outside or whatever. It can stay sealed up completely. But if you notice, it goes down through the cement slab, and basically a pipe runs under the ground through here and comes up this leg of conduit here into my box. So there's no plugging cords, running cords. And then obviously got the generator interlock kit, the breaker here. Can't turn it on. This one had to be shut off. You'd slide this up, and then you better kick this one on. I'm not gonna do that right now because my wife and baby girl's inside, and she would fuss if I killed the power to the house. But also real quick, with the generator, got this little surge protector right here. Got it wired into this breaker right here. You can see right there, surge protect. I recommend getting one of those if you have a generator feeding your panel. That way you don't get any surges in power. It's supposed to limit that. But to the house here, we'll go back to here. If you notice, I'm sure you've seen this stuff up here, which I got this chicken wire holding this up. That is ceramic fiber insulation. I did the roof like that, and just basically something to hold it up to keep it from getting that plywood up there and the roof. But obviously we got a fan. I can't remember what size that is. I want to say that may be a 16-inch fan. Got my power cord runs over. Let me open this back up. And I got it wired into here. So basically when the generator's running, that fan is running. One thing I wish I would have did different is I wish that I would have run a 110 plug from the panel, just like I did with this plug here, and put a 110 plug over there for the fan, and then wired the fan into a thermostat. I think that would have been better, just simply because after this generator's been running for a long time, obviously you got a little bit of heat in here. Well, then the fan stops. When the power comes on, you shut the generator off, your fan stops. I've been having to just come out here and open the lid up and let the heat, dissipate that way. Whereas if I had that fan on the thermostat, when the house power kicked on, it would supply power to the 110 outlet, and the fan would run until it cooled down and would shut off on its own without the generator running. And then obviously, your power feeding back to the panel would feed the plug, feeding the fan. So it would work with the generator power or house power. So that's what I wish I would have did different. I've got a bolt down there and a little anti-theft device. I mean, I know people can get through that very easily if they wanted to, but I'm gonna at least make them work for it. But so also too, if you notice here, I've got that ceramic fiber. I mentioned that yellow oranges, that's rock wool. All this is very high heat resistant stuff, ceramic fiber, and then I got it surrounded in cement board. So that's but obviously I ran out of cement board, or I would have ran it all the way up and trimmed that out, made that look a little bit better. But I ran out of cement board. I'll pick some up again soon and finish that out. But so there you have that. Got the door here, and we're gonna come down, ease the door down, and I've got a little lock here as well, and I can lock that. So basically make them work for it as much as they have, much as possible. We got this little resin top roof, had no issues with it. These are just basically attic vent louvers that I'll put on the side here for ventilation. These up here are just that's fence boards, privacy fence boards. Obviously trimmed out with treated 2x4 stuff. The door there. So go around the back here. I got to repaint that, but that's my fan exhaust. If you noticed here, I've got this is some of that ceramic fiber insulation, and just a little flex hose that ties into the muffler, and got this little bit of basically stovepipe metal to keep the heat away from the wood, and then a little bit of heat shield right here as well. I do not like this little setup at all. It looks tacky, in my opinion. It works, but it looks tacky. So I'm actually going to add I think what I'm gonna do, I was looking at, I'm gonna get a tractor pipe and muffler and run out there, run it over here, and maybe come up and out. That way, with a tractor muffler right in here, off the wall, and obviously heat protect it from the wood. Do some little heat shield or whatever. But I don't know, I'm gonna come up with something better than just an old long little tube. I'm gonna take a piece of this just to show y'all here in a second. But it's what you have. I don't know if you noticed too. I'm gonna run this here in a little while, but you got little vents here. Obviously the big vents on both sides, and I got one in the doorway right here. So, and the reason being for that is I used an anemometer and a temp gun, basically to find hot spots while it was running and find out where I needed airflow. And based on that, what my findings was, I ended up adding that vent down there and one right here, because your muffler is back right in here. So this sucks air through here, basically catches all this muffler heat and straight up out. So that's why I added that one. But alright, just to show you real quick, this is the piece of cement board I picked up off the ground out there. That's a piece of ceramic fiber down here, just as old piece of scrap wood. But just to show you how heat resistant this stuff is. So and that's pretty hot. I mean, that's obviously burning. Alright, you see it right there. You can burn that all day long. Cement board, same way. Back to the wood. It'd catch on fire here in a second. Matter of fact, it did catch on fire. So you see my well house, my generator house over there. That's what I have. This insulation in the back, protecting the outside wood. Then lined it with cement board. So basically, I have a sandwich like that, so to speak. So I am not worried about heat catching that wood on fire, as long as I have that insulation in there, my fan going. And I also forgot to mention earlier my cutoff switch, and I'll go show you all that here in just a second. All right, so just say this is generator's running, and I don't know, this GFI trips. It shuts that fan off. This generator's gonna keep running, and it's gonna get hot in here. It's gonna get pretty warm. Then you have potential of, you know, fire hazard, which is dangerous. So one of my safeties for that is if you notice right here, I got this little switch right there, and that's basically a heat sensor cutoff switch. And what I did with that, if you come down, you notice one wire, that wire right there is tied into the ground of the battery, which is tied into this, which is grounds the whole machine. But you follow this on over here, and I got this tied into the low oil sensor switch right here. And so basically what happens here is this oil sensor switch, you have basically, well, for these you have a normally closed and a normally open. This particular setup is a normally open. So basically the oil is floating the switch up. If the oil gets low, the switch comes down, grounds the machine out, shuts it off. Same thing with this inside of this little gadget here, inside of there you got two contactors that are basically, try to do this while holding it, they're separated, but if they heat up, they grow together and touch, and when it touches, it grounds it out. But they only touch at the set temperature. So basically, you know, say 100 degrees, they're right here, 120, they get a little bit closer, 140, boom, they touch and grounds the machine out. So if you see here, that's, let's see if I can get that on focus. Oh, they ain't wanting to focus on me, but anyway, that says 60 degrees C. And that's what that comes out to around 140. I don't know, my math may be off on that, but so if it reaches that hot of a temperature in here, fan shuts off, it gets hot, that'll shut the machine off before it gets to dangerously high temperatures. I really want to add a lower one, a lower temperature than that. But so let's get a little safety device for that. That's how that works. Put the heat gun to it, shut it off. We'll give that a minute to cool back down. And then we'll restart it. Yep. So basically what I just did there, I took the heat gun, put it directly over top of it, basically just to give you an example of what it does. Obviously it won't heat up that fast with ambient air temperature and airflow, but did what it was supposed to do. And that's where she's tied into the low oil switch. Goes to there. Also added this little magnetic dipstick here. Catch any little particles that may get off in the oil. But we'll give this a second. That's still pretty warm from the heat gun. We'll see if it'll kick on now. Alright, so just started the generator up. Let's see what we can get out of here.
Only thing I wish I'd have done different was, obviously I am going to do different. This is a project to come. It's this exhaust. I'm going to redo that. And I wish I would have run this fan right here on a thermostat off of grid power. And then the generator could feed, when you turn the generator on, it feeds the panel. And then from the panel, it would come back and back feed this fan over here. So that when you shut the generator off, the fan, you know, it's wired into a thermostat. If it's hot in there, the fan will keep running until it cools down on grid power or generator power. But other than that, have no complaints so far, and I'm $11,000 to the good for some standby power. I am going to end up adding propane, which my house is all electric, so I have just a few propane. You know, I buy my little portable propane containers. But I am going to get a tank and set over there somewhere. And I'll end up running it to here and maybe run some out to my back patio for a gas grill or whatever. But that's in the future. But all in all, there you have it.